Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome back to the GBC SPT page. My name is Deva Avatara Dasa, and I'm very happy today to have with us from Russia with love, Shaktyavesha Avatara Prabhu. Welcome.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Hari Bol. My pranams to you. Happy to see you.
Wonderful to see you.
So I'm excited to bring Shaktyavesha Avatara Prabhu on for our ISKCON Future Now series, because Prabhu's doing the kind of things that a lot of people talk about and a lot of people say should be happening, but they're actually happening under his guidance and initiative and inspiration over there in Russia. And so we're going to get into that today. But Prabhu, I always like to ask anybody that I get the chance to interview on the page the perennially exciting question of how did you join? So maybe you could start us off there and tell us how you became connected to the Krishna Consciousness movement, your services kind of building up to where you are now, and then stop there and we'll have a little discussion.
Sure. Okay. That sounds pretty easy. If I go into a too lengthy one, please pause me there and just take us to the next topic. I believe it happened about 14 or 15 years back that I came across devotees down here in Moscow. I'm in Moscow right now. And funny enough, at that time, there were two things that happened to me. Well, first of all, I wasn't quite happy with everything that was happening with my life. I similarly was, quote unquote, successful person. I just got off a TV show and I had an access to different celebrities and stars. And I felt, okay, this is the world that I was really dreaming about and I want to live in. But then things were really not getting the right direction. I was really confused and I gradually felt like I'm losing myself. So at that time, I needed quite a change, quite a drastic change in my life. And there were two things that sort of railed on to, and that was yoga as a hatha yoga, as a way to bring my body back and my mind back and sort of get myself back into reality. But secondly, I was looking for something spiritual as well, like more directly spiritual. And that's where I came across devotees. However, at that time, there was quite a intense propaganda against the devotees. So I felt yoga and asanas is kind of cool. You get likes on Facebook. That was fine.
Yeah.
But then for a Vaishnava, you don't get that much appreciated, and being just,
even in Russia, being part of a religion isn't cool.
Yeah. But then I went to London in pursuit of my master's degree in film production. It was also somewhat an attempt to change the surrounding, the environment, and somehow bring this whole new dimension of life and who am I. It was kind of a search on many levels. And that's where I was fortunate to be placed in a uni just 10 or 15-minute walk away from Soho Temple, from Govinda's. And nice. Within just a few days' time, I came across a Harinam. I already knew who they are, but I had a chance to look at devotees with a completely fresh sight. I wasn't pushed by anyone. I was a part of international society in London where all kinds of people are, both religious and freaks. You're free to choose who you are in terms of externals. And I started coming to the temple. And the main thing that happened to me, it wasn't quite easy for me in the university either. I'm just a simple Russian boy. I was really younger than all my university mates, and they were quite hungry for, you can imagine a typical TV producer type person who is striving for that. And I wasn't quite fitting into that frame. And even when we were asked, just like just now you asked, how did you join? Similarly, they were like, okay, so what brought you here? And I started sharing how I'm thrilled about the light and knowledge and sharing that with the world. And it's something that I'm driven by. And it was literally even tears coming to my eyes. And people just look at me as like really freak, really weird guy. And, what are you doing here?
Why would you waste your time with that?
Yeah. And then I was kind of bulled a bit, in a sense, for 6 months through. I was trying to pitch some of those ideas that I was inspired by. One of the first projects that I was sharing was an idea to juxtapose the world of Kumbh Mela with the London realities. And the result of that was I was said, Alexei, that's my Karma name. We don't want you here to preach to us. And at that time, I didn't even know the word preach. I was like, sorry, but what does this word mean? And I was just, innocently sharing. I was what I was thrilled about. Anyway, so then I started coming to the temple, and that's where I just felt loved. I felt accepted. I felt I have a chance to share. I got to know that my ideas, they're not just weird, but actually they're fine. In fact, it's nice that I have these ideas. Yes,
it's wanted.
Well, to contribute something to the world, be not part of the consumption movement, but just try to spiritualize what you're doing with your life. So anyway, that's more or less how it all came to be.
Wonderful. But then you became a real integral member of that temple there and did a lot of Sankirtan.
Yeah, that's an interesting twist. I got my master's degree in film production, and I had some opportunities to either pursue this academic career. I think I was even applying to Manchester for a high degree. That didn't work out immediately. And then I had a chance to reapply, but then I felt, let me explore a little more. And whilst I was at this year, I had a chance to do a few of those Vipassana retreats. That's places where you go to, not necessarily go into a different country, but in my case, it was Nepal and Thailand and India. So I got a glimpse of what East is and Eastern culture. I tried meditation. I was practicing yoga. I was exploring different teachings. And then I felt at that time, before I make any further step in my career, let me really try to figure out who am I, what I'm doing, what is my actual goal, and let me really be on a journey with my life. And I went to the temple for a couple of months. As they usually do, there is a flat close by for that kind of persons who are inquisitive and they're curious what's going on. So these 2 months led me into a year, and then I didn't notice how it turned into 3 years, and that was the most important of my life. And the temple president, Jayanta Prabhu, whom I'm ever grateful to, he once said that, hey boys, I really want you to have this experience as a benchmark in your life. And I feel that's exactly what happened to me. I got a benchmark of intensity of taste, where my senses, my mind, my intelligence, my body, my whole nature, everything was so much engaged, and the experience I was receiving was so high that the only thing I was afraid of, that if I leave the temple, will I ever get the same taste? So fortunately, that led me to different services and revealing that it's not only brahmacharis who are happy. There's many more opportunities to derive taste. Sorry for being quite simple and bold in that.
No, it's well needed, because that is certainly the kind of romanticized idea that's still present in our society today, even 40 years after 99% of our devotees don't live in a temple. Still there's this idea that somehow Mahaprabhu's mercy and Radha Krishna's kindness and Prabhupada's grace are limited to those that live in the temple, and the rest of us are just getting table scraps. So it's great to hear that it's available out and not just in, because how can the whole world take to Krishna consciousness and receive the bliss available if they all have to cram into Devasadan Mandir over here in Detroit, or the temples you guys have there in Moscow? It just doesn't work that way. So true. And if you don't mind, that's the reason I'm so happy and honored to be with you today, because you're one of those whom I personally look up to. You're one of those who really have the taste. You do have the taste. You like to share. You do it in a very genuine way, and it's something that really catches my heart. And I want to do similarly in that region, because it's wonderful that you're doing it and the way you're doing it. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, you're a brother from another country, so it's really encouraging for me to know. Sometimes I think every devotee has this experience that sometimes our false ego kicks in and we think we're the only ones doing anything. I'm the only one trying to do this very important thing that Prabhupada said has to be done, and I'm the hero. I'm bearing the cross of that burden. And I've found it's actually helped my own service quite a lot.
In my mind.
it's helped my own service quite a lot to expose myself and connect myself to devotees like you that are doing similar things for similar reasons in other parts of the world with great success, much more than I'm having. So let's segue into that. And just to remind people also, now you've just outed yourself. You're not a brahmachari living in a temple. You're a family man, and you just had a child, I believe, your first child. Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's a big
Yeah, that's probably a whole nother episode we could do, but help us. What are you doing today? And just to preface, it's something, you're doing a lot. You have two kind of big campaigns going on that are attracting literally thousands of people. How are you doing that today? And how did that segue from being essentially the Sankirtan leader at one of our main temples in the UK to segueing back to Moscow now and what you're doing?
Well, yeah, I guess before we jump into what's going on today, I do want to take us just another step back to those temple years, because I was fortunate that Jayanta Prabhu saw this potential and he engaged me in Sankirtan. Sankirtan did become a whole other experience for me. That's where the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita became real. I had a chance to experience the taste. I had a chance to experience the presence of the Lord. There was all kinds of mystical experience that I don't want to go to, but I was kind of hungry for that. And that was a chance, I was running out of the street. Of course, there was different times at some point when I felt, okay, I'm the one. Immediately for a month I couldn't distribute almost like one single book. So, it was a lot of purification along the way. But those marathons that I had, especially Srila Prabhupada winter marathons, this is something that was quite unique. I've never had that much experience available. And I spoke to Murli Mahaprabhu at that time. He's the head pujari at Soho Temple, legendary head pujari, very staunch. And he said, it was basically, sometimes he's saying, I have to go for 1 year on the altar for you to experience the same amount of mercy within just 1 day. And I actually can vouch for that. That's that mood of sharing, that mood of presence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in us, trying to share the Mahamantra, in us trying to share the knowledge. That's definitely available. But what was the other thing that I wanted to mention? Yeah, the main thing, that was the experience. And when I started thinking about, what's going to happen next, am I going to get married or not? That was the question for me. If I leave the temple, is there any chance I can remain experiencing that same taste? Because I couldn't imagine otherwise. I have too many other desires and artists, everything that I felt if I just leave it, then it would immediately take me over, and God knows what's going to happen. So that was my biggest cherished desire. Oh, Krishna, please kindly engage me in such a way that I can still remain practicing Krishna consciousness with full vigor, with full speed. And at that time, apart from Sankirtan service, I started preaching to the Russian-speaking community in London. So that was working fairly well. We started receiving a lot of devotees with that particular country of a region, or countries, that was CIS region. And little by little, I felt, okay, I sort of associate more and more with grihasas, and more of my service is opening different bhakti vrikshas and namahat groups, and I take grihasas out on the street. So it was gradually shifting, and it wasn't such a big leap for me, such a big jump off the cliff where I was completely uncertain. Krishna allowed to make it a very gradual transition. And then, there was all kinds of fantastic stories out in the street that also made me, gave me strong faith that even one mantra, one encounter, one book can really change a person's life. If you like, I can share a couple of them.
Yeah, we love Sankirtan stories.
There was, I think there was one or two that I will choose. They maybe not as cool in terms of amount of different little bits and pieces that come together that make you get thrilled about, but it's more about the personalities. There is two devotees that I feel I still have in my heart and will probably keep them there till the end of my life. One of them is Danny Foster. He actually might be watching us today. He's a winner of a Hear and Say show in London. And he's kind of really cool and smart and intelligent and artistic and charismatic person. And we met on the Oxford Street and he got the book. And since then, he's been chanting. He's been coming to the temple. He's meditating on, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, on a particular guru within ISKCON. And his whole life got changed. He's now been to Vrindavan and to so many places, and he's quite an established celebrity and doing what he's doing. And there was another wonderful encounter with a Muslim boy. His name is Umair, and that was quite interesting. When we came in touch, he had all his agenda and background from where he was born. But then we had such a strong heart-to-heart connection that at some point he started crying and he was revealing his mind, and I was sharing back. And then he came back to the temple, and his life is, he went through the Bhakti Center into the Bhakti Vedanta Manor, and now he's a teacher at Krishna Consciousness School.
Wow.
So there is many stories like that. And it won't be exactly a story, but since it's GBC and it's Srila Prabhupada and this whole movement is driven by his mercy, there was one day, I can't remember what was the reason and what was the issue with the books, but at some point we had to distribute only specific books, probably just to get this stock down because, it was just hanging for too long. And then in the middle of the marathon, and that was my first year, if I'm not mistaken, maybe second, I can't remember. But one day, halfway through, where I said, okay, for next 2 or 3 days, you can distribute only Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1.1. This big blue piece, which is, you don't even fit into the screen. And Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita, I believe. The smaller one, the orange one. I wasn't strong enough for, Srila Prabhupada's autobiography because, you're still in this mode of marathon. You need to give out a lot and you need to be, all that. I wouldn't go into this whole mood of it. But it was coming to the incorporation day of ISKCON. And at that time, I wouldn't say I had a lot of knowledge, nor I could understand what mercy is, nor how it's all working. But I clearly remember I was praying with what I have, that please kindly allow me to distribute this book because I have no idea how to. And I had this kind of competitive spirit with other devotees and all that in place as well. So somehow or other, on that day, by Krishna's mercy, 108 Srimad Bhagavatams, 1.1, was single-handedly distributed out in the street. And I wouldn't pick up any particular single story because it's just, it's one book like that to be distributed on the street is amazing. But when it happens in a sequence, at some point you lose your head completely because you just flow in this mercy. Just something is happening and you can't quite believe it's happening. But it was a lot of that. And that's where I felt Krishna is present because I tangibly could see not me doing, but something happening, me being the instrument. And since then, that's more or less my prayer. If I can somehow be engaged, if I can somehow be an instrument, because that's where all the magic things are happening.
Jai, thank you for sharing the realizations on those stories. So I have a question I like to ask devotees, and this is an appropriate time, it seems. Who is Srila Prabhupada to you personally?
It's an interesting that you're asking this question. This very day, I'm a part of the Srila Prabhupada's 50th anniversary festival celebration. And it's almost like every year.
50th anniversary of him coming to Russia.
Of him coming to Russia, his first visit to Moscow. And every now and then, I do ask the same question myself. And I also think, how is it possible that I have some taste or some appreciation or some respect towards Srila Prabhupada? I also like to ask myself, is it possible to pass on that same taste to the further generation? You know, as you mentioned, 1 month back, I got my son born, and I was thinking, is it possible to give that same taste to my baby, or to say of other people? So he is quite unique in that sense. My biggest access to him came through the book of my spiritual master. It's called The Lessons of Love. And I like how he takes different episodes from Srila Prabhupada's life and shows one of his traits of character. So for me, I would say Srila Prabhupada is someone who did give me a life that I was looking for. It gave me an experience and meaning that I would be ever grateful to. And I feel that every single element of my life that hopefully I can say I'm attached to, whether it's Kirtan or Prasad or devotee association or this missionary spirit and a chance to, to live a life of dignity and be of some use to the world, to be of some use to the society. I feel there is no price to it. You know, you can't quite put it in words and describe what that means to you. I think you can really experience it when you start losing it. That's when you really understand who Srila Prabhupada is in your life and how grateful we are for everything given. Sorry that, it's kind of not an indirect way of answering, but I guess in short, I'm just grateful because he did give me a life. You can't make it more than that.
Thank you. That's a sweet prayer to want to pass that on to your son, that wondering. I can relate to that. Now let's talk something about what you're doing today. Maybe we can start with Fortunate People campaign. That's maybe something that many of the devotees have already been exposed to, who may be watching even right now. How did the idea for Fortunate People come around, and where is the project today?
Yeah, sure. Fortunate People came as a continuation to what we were discussing previously. Been out in the street, at some point I started thinking maybe there is more to it than just description books. With these examples like Danny Foster or Mayur and many others, I felt maybe there is a way to establish this connection and somehow keep the connection going, and as we call it internally, fan the spark and just go through that period after they got the book. So then being a monk, there was no way to have anything grown, so I started a Facebook page. It was a Facebook page. Somehow or other, this name came to my mind, Fortunate People. That's a whole other story, because I couldn't even imagine how much more I will get to know by reading Srila Prabhupada's books, how often he would use this word fortunate. And I swear it could have come from reading Srila Prabhupada's books, but at that time I wasn't aware of all the potency that Srila Prabhupada invested into this name. But Fortunate People came as a way just to keep the connection going, to give something. In that case, it was a Facebook page, which will have some attractive, appealing, as we call it, outreach. Business. But then it turned into this whole campaign where at some point, apart from giving a book, I started asking people to chant the Maha Mantra one time. And I was looking for what would be the best pitch, what would give the highest number of people reciprocating with you and getting into mantra without feeling any type of, religious into, or any kind of brushing them into something that they're not ready for, but just doing something for fun. But yet, chanting the mantra as it is for the first time. So that's where this love and peace mood as a motto, as a theme came to being. And I would just, ask them, would you mind sharing this mantra as a prayer for love and peace for the world? And 90% would say, yeah, why not? I was surprised later on that 80% would still be, yeah, why not? Even with me filming them, doing it. So then at some point we got about first 100 videos or something. And that's how the mission of 50,000 videos for love and peace of new people chanting the Maha Mantra came to being, when everyone was in the mood of doing something for Srila Prabhupada at his 50th centennial year. Oh,
the big ISKCON 50th anniversary.
Exactly. Yeah. And then somehow or other, Krishna was indicating many times that similarly it's a good thing to do. Things were working well. More and more devotees were joining in. And we felt, why not try shooting for the rhino, as Shyamasundar Prabhu would call his book. Mm-hmm. And that's how we started this vision of pursuing 1% of the globe to chant Mahamantra. And America happened that previous year when the World Whole Name Festival team and the newly formed Kirtan ministry, they embraced this initiative. They shared a lot of their resources and empowerment. And along with that, we had, within just 2 months, over 140,000 videos coming.
Wow.
And 80,000 people chanting Mahamantra. And the complete majority of them were new people chanting the Mahamantra. Of course, predominantly because that came from India, that did have that taste or the mood. But yet we also have the ambassadors in Holland, in England, in Russia, who do the same thing, and they ask for Mahamantra for the first time. So that's the campaign.
Wonderful. And is that still going on? Is that something devotees could go to, Facebook, or is it the Kirtan ministry now?
Yeah, we have 2 main pages. One is the fortunepeople.com, where all the videos are collected, and that's where the calculator and every next milestone gets set. And we have the more internal page, FP Ambassadors or Fortune People Ambassadors, where you have all the quotes of Srila Prabhupada talking about making the world fortunate, this prediction of making 1% of the world devotees, and et cetera, et cetera. I would say this very moment, we're getting ready for the next marathon, which will coincide again with the World Whole Name Festival, which usually goes for about a month during the September time. So it's less videos coming, almost like with book distribution. It's more intense during the marathon. It's less throughout the year, but it's definitely on.
Nice. I just linked there in the comments for anybody that would be interested. It's a nicely laid out website, very attractive. And that's a nice segue into telling us more about the mantra concerts that you're doing in Russia, which I'm personally very impressed with and excited about, because that immersive experience that I've seen it myself, that people can have at a retreat or at a really good, well-curated kirtan, is something that doesn't leave them, and really it moves them to want to investigate more, especially the power of the Mahamantra and the rest of our bhakti culture. So how did you transition, or how did you become inspired to start organizing these large mantra concerts?
Mantra Festival is quite an amazing story. I would say it was given. It's amazing how it all turned out. I was invited to, first of all, there was the Hare Krishna film and the Swami who started it all. By Srila Prabhupada's potency, a non-devotee person who had a reflection film studio or distribution company, something, in Moscow, got attracted by this idea of sharing that film out through the cinema theaters. Can you imagine that the release date for that film in the major cinema theater in Moscow coincided with the appearance day of Srila Prabhupada?
Yeah.
So
not intentionally by the person.
Not intentionally, like at all. There was no connection whatsoever for him to choose that date for the cinema theater to allow. So devotees was like blown away because no one could understand how it happened. And it was a complete experience. And devotees did pack the cinema theaters like anything from that day onward. on quite a few screens, because everyone felt, wow, Srila Prabhupada organized a film screening on his own birthday, all the devotees to share the nectar. But that became the stepping stone towards the mantra movie. That's the name of the film. It's Mantra Entrance into Silence, which is a film made by non-devotees who had quite a neutral approach in terms of sharing mantra from different facets, including the scientific approach to it, Buddhists, Hindus, all kinds of Mayavads present as well. So it was a mishmash, but it was a beautiful representation of mantra as a phenomenon. Devotees were also present there with Gauravani, with Janavi, with Premahara, and other devotees been present in the film. So I had a chance to be a promoter for this film based on the experience from the Hare Krishna movie, and to share that out into the different cinema theaters. And when at some point the cinema theaters said, okay, we have to stop here because there is such and such Hollywood blockbuster, and they have contracts, so we can't give you any more light.
Sure.
We felt like, hey, wait a second, we're in the middle of something. We have a lot of people asking about mantra. We have a lot of people being thrilled about it. And the main thing that I realized, hey, this is something interesting. When mantra is presented in a less sectarian way, in a less institutionalist way, when it has some place for other traditions to be present as well, with people feeling secure about coming to that place and being able to choose if they like, that's where a lot more can open up, and a lot more people can be, it can be open to a lot more people. And that's where we thought, why not try to do a mantra festival in a mood of mantra movie, where devotees would play a key role, a dominant role, so that the Maha Mantra is well present, so that it doesn't give too much of philosophical deviation, where the message is clearly present, yet still we open the doors for some pop singers, or last time Bitu Malik, one of he's born in Vrindavan, and Bhakti Vijnana Goswami Maharaj at some point invited him to Moscow, he got married, etc., etc. But whilst his performance, for example, he had Sufi dancers doing their magic swirling.
Yeah, the
dance
dervish thing.
Yeah, the dervish thing. It was beautiful. You would see as a part of that short video clip that I wanted to share. So anyway, now it's 4 festivals through. The last one, we had about 1,400 people coming.
Wow.
The complete majority is new people, but the main key theme, the main yoga communities, organic communities, hippie communities, ethnic communities. I'll give you some names. The vegetarian, this is the key biggest pro-green vegetarian community in Russia. The organic women, they're kind of posh and into yoga and the organic people, another community. The astrologers. Anyway, I can give you the whole multifaceted number of different communities who all feel safe and secure. And in fact, they say, this is a great festival. Everyone should go there. Just, go and listen to this artist, go and listen to this music. And that's the biggest thing that I feel, that's the biggest achievement with this festival, that somehow or other, we found this niche where many feel okay, if not to say excited, to share or interact or do some collaboration together with us. And us trying to be open to that kind of experience with new people coming and, given stage and given light to other traditions as well.
Right. I want to look at a video, but before that, I'd like to ask you a question, because although I'm very impressed, and I'm sure hopefully many devotees watching also appreciate what you've just shared, certainly also you've gotten some criticism about not giving it as it is, so to speak. And I often, I joke, it's a kind of rhetorical question. that what would happen to any ISKCON sannyasi today, whomever they may be, if they shared a stage with a gay drug addict who advocates for Mayavad philosophy? What would happen to such a sannyasi if they shared a stage with that kind of person? And that's who Allen Ginsberg was, who Srila Prabhupada...
Allen Ginsberg and Srila Prabhupada engaged
exactly.
in mantra.
Exactly. Several stages across the US and Europe, Prabhupada shared with Allen Ginsberg, who was openly advocating all those things, which, we, to some degree or another, we say that we're opposed to. So what do you say to your detractors, or what would you say to devotees who are a little on the fence about the value of such a thing that you're doing?
We can have a whole other discussion about the world of preachers within ISKCON movement, and there is two sides. There is two gotras, two camps of devotees fighting against each other.
That's a very high way to see the situation.
Yeah, we're lucky if they're fighting with the holy paints. Usually it might be something way too intense and painful for both parties. Well, first of all, I should be honest with you. I feel so far we're quite lucky. We're not getting that much criticism. Maybe that's one of those quotes that I remember from Srila Prabhupada in this Nectar book of book distribution, where he said, "Let them judge by the results." So maybe because we had some success, they felt, wow, they really doing something. It looks nice. It looks really impressive. Maybe for that reason, we didn't get as much criticism as yet. And Krishna sees I'm not attracting or inviting to test me more with that. On the other hand, I also feel in our movement or outside this movement, unless you do not do anything at all, that's when you don't face any opposition. If you have anything to say, if you have something to say strongly, you would always get a whole other exposure of many people having their opinion on that. Just as an example, I went to share that particular session on my own page, and just a second before we tuned in, I saw those two commentaries where they're saying, anyway, but maybe you can check, there's two commentaries under this particular session where, it's almost like anything you do is almost like doomed to get some nectar in this way.
Yeah.
My take on that, if I were to answer in a more direct way, I like what once Devamrita Maharaj said. So many people argue when to say Krishna, at the beginning or at the end. And then he said, but why not doing both? So I would expand it into even more descriptive analogy. We often say bridge preaching.
Yeah.
So if you imagine this bridge, then you can say the right hand would be those sort of staunch 16 rounds, 32, everything should be Paka, Shastrik. You should say Mahamantra straight from the beginning, complete Dandavats, and all those bits and pieces in whole package straight away, boom. And those on the far left corner, they would try to find as many ways as possible to open the doors as wide as possible for people to get at least a glimpse of that culture, at least a glimpse of Mahamantra. And for me, it's exactly that. It's a bridge from one side to another, where you can have as many stages as possible to that particular moment where it becomes a committed follower. And he doesn't necessarily even need to be in that particular lifetime. Maybe that's not his destiny. Maybe he will take a longer journey, and we should fully respect that. Why not? That's his choice. But this is my understanding, that this is how Krishna is doing it in a magic way. He's doing it organically. He takes a person through those different stages, whether we can trace it back or not, up to the point where a person, if he likes to, he can surrender his life completely. But ideally, us as a movement, we should have it organized in such a beautiful way that everyone is engaged according to his nature. He can be placed at his particular place of that bridge where he feels fully confident, fully eloquent to share the message exactly as it needed to that particular target audience. But then when the person is ready to just pass the fruit further.
Well said. Well said. I personally, I say blow up the bridge. I'm tired of hearing about it. And start talking about leverage preaching, which is, I think you're a great example of that. Our devotees, because of that romanticized idea of the brahmachari in the temple, and you can't preach and you can't get the mercy and you can't give the mercy unless that's who you are. We've totally lost the great stock of potency that many of our devotees have out in the world through their natural relationships and talents that Krishna has given them before coming to the movement, even during their connection with the movement. And so when I see somebody making a 1,400 person mantra concert, it's not surprising for me to hear that you were a film producer and that you have connections with the celebrity scene in Russia and the organizer scene as a result, etc. It's quite natural. And how many devotees have felt kind of suppressed or unable to express themselves in that way because of these stereotyped ideas that we have around, preaching, and this pejorative word that we have, bridge preaching, as a result. So kudos to you for your courage and intelligence to take advantage of those points of leverage that you already have. So let's bring up the video now, because we only have a few minutes left in our session, and I want devotees to see the beautiful thing that you've created. And play a few minutes for us and give us some commentary also while we're moving through the video. Let us know who's out there, what we're seeing.
Okay, so is the screen been shared?
Yep, we can all see, and you and I are still on the screen as well. What you can see is what all the other devotees are able to see.
Okay. This is the first time we made the video with the Maha Mantra purely.
Mm. When I see this, right away it reminds me of the Christian churches, which are becoming more and more popular here in the U.S.
Yeah,
they're set up like concerts.
Is one of those. This is Kirabant, is a disciple of the leader. He's a disciple of His Holiness and Redeemer Swami Maharaj. All of them are really, really experienced in giving a high-class mantra rock show. This is an interesting case. The name of the group is Atman Love, and they have their own Art Planet community. So we allowed them and invited them to stage as well. But they brought hundreds of people together with them. And as a result, so many more got to know about the Maha Mantra as well. And this is Ananta Gauranga Prabhu. He's a disciple of Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj. And he's been up at the stage for 10 or 20 years. His band, they're non-devotees, but he's masterfully engaging them. And he really knows what he's doing. This is me.
And it's a beautiful visual. You've got the graphics behind.
And this Mantra Festival is really a compilation of different festivals. Some of them more into poetry and ethno, some of them more into rock type, others are more like fusion type, very different music styles. This is another community they call Beautiful People. They organized a flash mob at the festival, and they felt creatively engaged in a most wonderful way. Here, it's a Nilambari band, disciple of Bhakti Vijnana Goswami Maharaj, and they would do pure bhajans, but presented in a nice outreach manner. This is Bitu Malik. He's from Vrindavan. He's a musician in his 13th consecutive generation, and he's really magic and magician with what he can do with the harmonium and with his voice. He also chanted the Om Namah Shivaya mantra in the dervishes were dancing there. It was the whole exposure of different cultures.
Beautiful.
And you see people were really appreciating. And then we also engaged the dancing community. There is the whole new ecstatic dance community. They do not drink, they do not take an intoxication, but they express themselves through the art of dance, and you see devotees were doing their bits and pieces.
Classic.
Compilation of different cultures coming together. So you can almost say it's almost like a nightclub type dance, but with people taking zero drugs, zero alcohol.
Can you stop the video, Prabhu? Yeah. We'll just bring you and I back on.
It's now coming to an end, so just few seconds left, maybe half a minute left. So it actually finishes with a beautiful singing of the Maha Mantra of the entire whole. Let me make it just a little louder for this one. Just another 10 seconds. And you see this VIP balcony on the top? And you know, by the way, just to let you know, and this is not US, this is not UK, but the tickets were 20 to 100, what is it? $20 to $110 per ticket to this particular festival. And once again, you should bear in mind that the currency, the strength of the currency in Russia is same as in India. So when you say $20 to $100 ticket in India, it's different to $20 to $100 ticket in US. Yet still, the hall was packed, and people are happy to not just come and chant the Maha Mantra, not just come and sing the bhajans, but they appreciate this experience. They feel like, wow, it's something that I want to go to, take my friends to, give money for, and you know.
So that's about $35 US, maybe $25 or $30 euros. That's significant.
Yeah, the most expensive ticket was $150. This at the VIP seats. The cheapest tickets start with about $15, $20, like that. 15.
Wonderful. So maybe to bring us to a close, what would you say to devotees wherever they may be, who may feel inspired to try to organize something like this where they are, to try to put, they see this presentation that you've put together and they realize, yeah, something like that would work where I am, and maybe I can be the one to put it together. What would you say to encourage them?
Well, if you don't mind, I won't just limit to the mantra festival format. I feel there is hundreds and thousands of ideas floating in the air. There is millions of talents that devotees are enriched with. The key thing, find that Purusham Rishu, this talent, this ability that Krishna has given to you. This is the first thing. The second thing, try to unite with other like-minded devotees, because when we come together, way grander things become possible. And then once you found your element, once you know really who you are, what you're doing, and what you're most natural with, just share it out. It can be any artistic way. It can be any, political way, economical way. It can be any kind of flash mob. It can be anything. It's just, I was recently meditating on that. If we don't make it too complicated, if we look around, at any given point of time, there is billions of people walking around. At any given point of time, there is billions of people present in the social media realm. And basically, anything and everything that can possibly come to your mind that will make a person say Krishna, or think about Krishna, or get to know about the concept of the Vedas, or no matter how further sort of liberal or outreach or whatever you want it to be at the beginning. Life is your oyster. It's just try. Just try. Miracles can happen. And all those, Shyamasundar and his shooting for the rhino, all the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they talk about that. miracles are possible when we try, when we somehow we put faith in Srila Prabhupada, allow him to do things, but at the same time we engage ourselves in the most natural way with just, who we are. People will appreciate it. They naturally get attracted to a genuine person who has a genuine standing. And okay, wonderful. If you have a particular faith and you're natural in that, they will be attracted. That becomes most natural a positive thing, because there are hundreds and millions of innocent people walking around looking for that kind of genuine connection with the person who is real, who is not fake.
I love that answer, that it's not about making another mantra festival. It's about recognizing inside yourself. And then you gave a quote from the Gita, chapter 7. Krishna says, I am the ability in man, Parasham Nishu. What is that ability that Krishna has given you? And I heard your Guru Maharaj recently on during the Chaitanya Charitamrita festival that we had. He spoke about the 3 kinds of people that don't get Mahaprabhu's mercy. And this is from Jiva Goswami's commentary. So maybe you've heard Maharaj share this. One is the Bala Kripana, one is the Dan Kripana, and then the other is the Prem, or Kapita, cheater. And Dan and Bala are very relevant to this discussion because it means strength and wealth. You've been given something by the Lord. If you don't give it back to him, then you're not going to get his mercy. And somebody who withholds their strength and wealth from the movement is going to miss out on Mahaprabhu's grace. So you're making a call to action for devotees. But there's a little bit of a Purvapaksha here from somebody commenting, Akash Verma. So I'd like to let you answer that at the end.
Yep.
The more we go after numbers, the more the movement is going to dilute. So this is a bit of you could say, a challenge to your point. How would you address that?
I think it's the same old story where, that's the magic of Srila Prabhupada. He somehow gave a chance for every single person to find his place within his heart, under his house, this Srila Prabhupada's house. So there is so many devotees, just like this devotee, who feels, oh, we need to boil the milk. We need to invest into education. We need to make sure that we treat devotees well. We need to make sure that we care about them. And all these are perfect concepts. In fact, I'm engaged in many of that type of projects within the movement as well. They're genuine, they're much needed, and we should focus on them. At the same time, if a particular person more natural in attracting people and less effective with maybe even studying the Shastras and being very, very scholarly and all that, why not allowing him to engage his nature? And an ideal case scenario where both parties appreciate each other, then one attracts, another one nourishes, and everyone is happy. So right. I feel there is a lot of this mentality of opposing, comparing, but let us work together. Let us try to do it in a unified way, appreciating each other's talents. So much more, just so much more will come from it.
Amen. Well said. We'll end there. And I hope many, many devotees get the chance to hear from you through this interview, because you've just shared some wonderful synthesizing points, some points of harmony around these, so-called contentions that many devotees experience themselves in these false dichotomies, essentially. As you're pointing out, the person who wants to go deep needs other people to go deep with. And the person who wants to attract people needs people who are able to take care of those that they're attracting. And it's actually that we're serving each other if we keep that mood. It's just a wonderful point. So thank you, Shaktyavesha Avatara Prabhu. And I'll invite all the devotees who appreciated hearing from you today to make a prayer for your continued empowerment in Mahaprabhu's movement, even as you enter into the dangerous waters of being a father and all the difficulties that come with that, but all the joys that are also available in that. We invite the devotees to pray for you to be able to maintain your service, and also be a stellar father to your son and whomever else comes under your care as a family man. Thank you devotees for watching today, and please stay tuned to us on the GBC SPT page. We hope to bring many more devotees like Shaktyavesha Prabhu, who's as a young man or woman, etc., taking responsibility for Prabhupada's movement and bringing it forward the way that he would have liked. Thank you, everyone. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.